remember.
Promise me you will come back.
What if I can't? Help me go home.
The Odyssey contains a life-changing, powerful lesson, but I think we were all caught up in controversy, we may have missed it. Most everybody has heard the saying, you must give up to go up. Or put another way, you need to sacrifice in order to be successful. And that is very true. But the issue is it's not as simple as it seems. And if you just blindly follow this, you could lose everything. We need to understand what success actually is and how sacrifice plays a key role in it. And I'm going to show you exactly how through the lens of Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. In The Odyssey, we meet Odysseus, the king of Ithaca. Ithaca isn't just a kingdom, it's a peaceful, beautiful home. He has a wife that he loves named Penelope and a newborn infant son, Telemachus. Now the Trojan War begins and Helen, the wife of the Punisher, is taken away to Troy, and the Greeks go to war to bring her back. So Odysseus and his men leave everything behind to go fight. And what was supposed to be a quick campaign turned into a 10-year nightmare. 10 straight years of fighting, blood, and desperation, all driven by a single goal, total victory over Troy. And eventually Odysseus devises a strategy that would finally make that possible, the Trojan horse. They built this massive wooden horse, hid soldiers inside of it, and made it look like they'd finally given up and sailed away. The Trojans took the bait, brought the horse inside the city, and that night soldiers climbed out, opened the gates, and Troy fell. The battle itself was brutal, and you can see how much that affects him, especially later on in the movie. But at this point, they had succeeded in exactly what they set out to do. But winning was only the beginning of his suffering, because now they still needed to make it back home. And that journey ends up taking him another 10 years. At their first stop headed home, they land on an island and they take shelter in this huge cave, but unknowingly to them, it's also home to a giant cyclops. A few men were brutally devoured across 2 days until the rest were eventually able to escape. And then once they escape, Odysseus in the heat of the moment shoots the cyclops in the eye with an arrow, shortly after finding out that he was the son of Poseidon, and that causes all their travels on the water to be disastrous. At their next stop, they're ambushed by these giant armored warriors where they lose a lot more men in what is really a sad moment of defeat. Then at their next stop, the remaining crew, now devastated and starving, find this stone hut where this lady offers them all food. Turns out though, she's a witch and she turns all the men into pigs. Yeah, this part was pretty weird, but I was still digging it. Odysseus is able to convince her to turn them back, and he requests her to help them return home because through all of this, they've become truly lost. She says the only thing they can do is sail to the edge of the world to perform a blood ritual to open the gates of Hades, and then he'll know how to make it home. And once they're there, he's confronted by the dead and the people that were affected by the choices that he made. So again, they have to escape to their ships. And throughout this entire movie, you hear all these kingdoms and people talking about the people of the sea. Everybody's preparing for war against the people of the sea. Even Ithaca is fortifying itself against these mystery invaders. And in a beautifully done way, we find out that Odysseus' men are the people from the sea. They are the ones who broke Zeus's law and caused all this darkness to arise. And what they've been through and what they continue to go through is all a result and consequence of this. And from this point now, they're headed to the sirens. And this is the most important scene and the key to all of this. And to understand why, you need to know what the sirens actually are. They're these mermaid-like creatures that sit on an island and sing a song that is custom tailored to whoever is passing by. Their voice acts like this mental drug. It doesn't use physical force, it targets your mind, tapping into your deepest desires. Once you hear it, you completely lose your free will. You forget everything except what the sirens are singing. And as their ship drew near, Odysseus orders his men to pack their ears with wax so they're immune. But he wanted to hear it, so he orders his men to tie them to the mast of the ship. And no matter what he says or how much he begs, they cannot untie him. And as they sail past, Odysseus is completely losing it, screaming and begging to be let go. A couple of his men actually take the wax out and go to the sirens. And after they're cleared from the danger, he's asked,
"What was the siren song?"
And he says,
All the things you want it to be. Then, all the things you wish you never wished for. Told you what you most want is what you most can't have. And what you most can't have is what you already had and lost. It was the song of all the promises I failed to keep.
Think about Odysseus at the beginning of the story. He had a kingdom, a wife, a son, and a home, and he left it all behind to go fight Troy. For 10 years, his idea of success was winning this war. And after finally achieving it, the sirens made him confront reality. What did that victory cost him? Because at this point, almost all of his men are dead, his son has grown up without him, and his wife has spent decades wondering if he's even still alive. Not to mention she's having to deal with all these suitors for years, and his kingdom has been left without a king. What he wants more than anything in this world is what he already had, but sacrificed in pursuit of what he thought got was success. And that's what makes this scene so powerful, because Odysseus got what he wanted. He just didn't realize what it was going to cost him until after he had it. So you do have to sacrifice in order to be successful, but don't miss this. If you sacrifice what's important, then once you reach what you've determined to be success, you'll find yourself just like Odysseus, wishing to go back. So you may be asking, what can we do to ensure we make the right sacrifices and actually be successful? Well, first, it starts with this. You must determine exactly what success looks like for you. Success is not one size fits all. The victory over Troy was a success, but by whose definition? Not Odysseus, although he thought it was at first. What would success be for you? And next, you have to know what you're willing to sacrifice. Sidney Howard once said, one half of knowing what you want is knowing what you must give up before you get it. There's two things, what's important to you and what's comfortable or pleasurable. Success always requires sacrifice of the things you enjoy, and typically what's important to you, you do enjoy. So we end up making the mistake of giving up what's important, thinking that's a prerequisite for success. And if you take anything away from this video, just know, if you sacrifice what's important, you'll never find success, only regrets. So take time to determine what's important to you, because nobody else can do that for you. What's important to me might not be the same for you. That's why everybody's picture of success can be wildly different. So what is success, and what are you willing to